All right, guys, good to see everybody. Tell the truth Monday. Here we go. Offense, improved rushing attack. Was really pleased with the running of Ty Davis, improved offensive line blocking. We put in some new stuff. We put in some new formations. JP's kept at it, stayed with the run game like we said we're gonna, and we made some improvement there. Definitely on offense, we still need some work on third down and our pass protection. On defense, it was all about gap fits, about staying in our gap, playing with proper technique, putting ourselves in better position to adjust to some of the formations that we see. We're going to work on that today. Florida, Emory Jones is an outstanding quarterback. They're third in the country in rushing offense. Known Dan for a long time. He's one of the best play callers I've been around. They got some talent. They got a good offensive line, good stable running backs. A lot of speed at wide receiver on defense. We all know about their defense. Attacking defense, 16 points per game, led by Zachary Carter with 6 sacks. Any questions?
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. I was just curious, in your meetings yesterday with the coaching staff, kind of given the limitations of what your roster is and not being able to improve it at this point in time, what can you fix? What have you guys identified that this is something we can clearly focus on and improve upon as we go forward?
On defense, first of all, making sure that we adjust to the proper formation and we're in a great alignment and our eyes on the right keys. Number one. Number two is when they're in that proper alignment and key, that they play the gap that they're supposed to. We're getting cut out of the gap. That we knew they had a good run game going into the game. There was no question about that. We respected their offensive line, a good zone blocking team. We just got cut out of our gaps for the most part. Now we ran some blitzes. We had some misassignments. We weren't in our gaps. So those are all things that are fixable, plus tackling.
Hey, good afternoon. What's the status of Keishon Butte and Ali Gay now?
Yeah, they're not going to be available for this week for sure.
Hey, Coach Joe Garland, Gillum, Fox State, New Orleans. I noticed that AD Scott Woodward's on the road with you on the home games on the field. Is he giving you any words of encouragement, advice in these tough times there for the Tigers?
Yeah, he's been great. He comes meet me every Sunday. He's here at every practice. Been very positive, been very encouraging every time I met with him.
Hey, Coach. I mean, obviously now without Keishon being such a huge part of y'all's offense, just who are you looking to kind of step up in that number one role, and kind of who do you think is going to stand out there among those freshmen?
It's not about number one role. It's about somebody coming up and making some plays. I think you saw Malik Neighbors do a lot of good things there. I'm looking for him to step up, Devontae Lee to step up in a bigger role, John Trey Kirkland to step up in a bigger role, Jared Jenkins. I think all those guys just have to step up, not just one guy. Everybody has to step up.
Hey, Coach, this is Bree Andrews from LSU Tiger TV. We've seen a lot of great success from former running backs coming out of LSU, and I think a big bright side of the game last week was seeing Ty Davis Price rush for 147 yards. So do you think not only Ty Davis Price, but Corey Kiner, Armani Goodwin, Josh Williams, do you think that they have the ability to be a successful college quarterback and also be successful in the NFL?
No question. That's why I recruited them. I think they're all great players. They're all great young men. And I'm glad that we put them in position to have success. We block better. I thought Ty ran with an outstanding attitude. Corey and Armani are good freshmen, real good freshmen. And Trey Bradford, who's going to become eligible soon. I think all those guys are going to be great players.
Coach, through the first 3 weeks of the season, y'all were the defense was towards the top of the country in sacks and tackle for loss. The last couple of weeks, those numbers have dropped off a lot. What do you kind of attribute that to, and how do you look to improve that?
Well, I think it depends what kind of protection we're getting. It depends how we rushing our guys. Sometimes we got our scrambling quarterbacks, so we're not just going full tilt. We got to stay in our pass rush lane. I think it's a combination of both.
Hey, what's the status of Major Burns and Joe Evans this week? And at the same time, how concerning is it to just to be beat up defensively right now as you're going against the SEC's best rushing attack?
Yeah, well, Joe's going to be unavailable this week. Major Burns is unavailable this week. we get Glenn Logan back. I think that Glenn is going to be able to play this week. Glenn played a lot of games for us, so that's going to give us a boost inside.
Yeah, Ed, sorry to have you with the injury and questions, things like that. But Eli Ricks, is he going to be available this week?
As far as I know.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, just kind of, with this gauntlet coming up, and then to Adam's question, when you're this injured and you're coming off a tough stretch, just how hard is that to kind of get the team going and whatnot?
Well, I don't think it's a problem. I think we're gonna focus in on today, Tell the Truth Monday. We're gonna look at it, and we got Florida coming to town. We're gonna be fired up to play Florida. Our guys are gonna be fired up. We're gonna have a good week of practice.
Hey, Coach, obviously there's a lot of talk around the program with the lack of success that you've had this season.
Yeah.
How will you approach it with your players? I know block out the noise is something that you've used before, but will you specifically address the remaining 6 games in your job status with them?
No, not at all. No, that's for me to handle. And nobody's told me about my job status, so I haven't had any discussion about it. As far as I know, I'm the head coach of the LSU Tigers today. That's all that matters.
Is that the best and only way you can approach it?
No, not really. I mean, like, you can go in there and I can read everything you guys could write. I can take about an hour and read all that stuff and then go tell them about it. But I don't listen to all that stuff. The best thing for me to do is be very positive, understand the expectation of LSU. I will say this and I will say it again. No one has to tell me about the LSU expectations. I know them. I was born with them, so I understand. I understand this is not the LSU standard performance. I understand my job. I get it totally. I know exactly where I'm at, and I'm going to go to work as hard as I can today, and don't blink. I promise you, I will not blink for anyone.
Thanks, Ed.
Hey, Coach, Paul Boron from CST. I was wondering if this week leading up to the Florida game kind of feels like last year, where this is the game that can kind of change the feeling of everything within the program.
Yes, it could. And it could. Playing Florida, we just lost 2 big games in a row, and playing Florida obviously is a rivalry game for LSU. We're playing at home. They're a very good football team, and it's going to be a tremendous challenge. But yes, I think they can put at least a little feel good back in the program.
And obviously this is Max's first full year as a starter. 6 games in, just kind of how would you evaluate what he's done? What has he done well? What does he kind of need to improve halfway through the year now?
Well, I think Max is an outstanding quarterback, outstanding young man. There's some things he's done very well. There's some things that he can improve on, is getting rid of the ball quicker. Maybe identifying some protections and getting them in the right protection at the right time. But overall, I think he's done a very good job.
Yeah, Ron Higgins, Tiger Rag. How did your last year at Ole Miss prepare you for when things don't go well like this to handle maybe better than it was handled at Ole Miss? How did that experience prepare you for when times are tough like this?
Yeah, you learn what not to do. I think that's the biggest thing is don't react. Go to work every day, big chest and big eyes, be positive. And I think the players got to feel that. And they feel that about me. They know it. And everybody knows what's going on. We don't need to talk about it. The focus is on beating Florida, and that's what we're going to do.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach, how was the morale of this team after these 2 losses, and how much of a fight is it to keep them motivated?
I think that when you get into the beginning, like today, it's the first time we see them. The coaches came in yesterday. Everybody was down a little bit, obviously. But as a 24-hour rule, as well as we can, we're going to put it behind us and look towards Florida. I think it helps that we play in Florida, a rivalry game. Guys going to get up to play in Florida, especially at home. And so I think after today, it should be okay.
Hey, Coach. Steve Moulton, WZZN. Is there any update on Miles Brennan?
Yeah, I just talked to him. He was in my office before I came down here. Nothing new. He's progressing as expected. I don't know if he's going to be available before the Alabama game, that open week or not. That's the target date we had looked at. I don't know the status of that yet.
Hey, Coach, one other question, a little off topic here. I'm asking all the coaches, or a bunch of the coaches within the program, about their thoughts on the transfer portal and
Yeah.
you know, the positives and the negatives of
Yeah.
it in your minds.
Well, I think that the graduate transfers have been excellent to us. We've done a good job of getting graduate transfers. The transfer portal can hurt you. Obviously, you don't want your players to leave, but sometimes you got to look at all the things that entail why a player left, and sometimes they're out of our control. And for that, we can't do anything about it.
But you briefly touched on Emory Jones. I was just curious, what kind of progress you've seen him make, this season as it's kind of gone along, and what are you expecting from their offense?
Yeah, well, one thing that Dan does, he knows exactly where to go against defense. I think he's an outstanding play caller. Emory's passing is very, very much improved this year. They want to run the football with him, but also the deep throws, also the wheel routes, the short passing game. I think his accuracy has improved and his confidence in running the offense.
Hey, Coach, good morning. In the past, you've talked about having to re-recruit your roster at the end of the year, and now we're hearing concerns about having to recruit your roster during the year. Other teams trying to poach players and this and that while you're still in the middle of the year. Is that something that's come up without naming schools?
Not that I know of. No one has told me about it, but sometimes I'm the last one to know.
How are you handling all this, Coach? I mean, I know, you talked about your job status a little bit and whatnot, but
Hey,
how is LSU?
Jock, excuse me. Are you trying to get another quote for me? Huh?
No, sir.
You sure?
I'm just trying to do my job, Coach.
Good. Well, I'm going to do mine. I'm handling great. I said that before.
Thank you, Coach.
Hi, Coach. Leah Van, the Advocate. I was just wondering, you've had a lot of injuries this season. I'm wondering if you are curious as to what has contributed to the injury prevalence on this team, and does that impact the way you approach practice?
First of all, not a lot of injuries have occurred in practice. Some of them had. Most of them have been in game time situations. So we got to look at it. I think that our training staff does a tremendous job of evaluating our guys. We've gotten guys back here a lot faster than we have in the previous year. So I think that the acceleration of the treatment and the guys getting better has worked. You don't want injuries, but you know what? It's part of football.
Hey, Coach, this is Josh Sidley with Louisiana Gridiron Football. It seems with the simplification of the playbook, you've kind of maybe handcuffed Max's reads with his second and third receiver and kind of pinpointed it, maybe zoomed in on just one receiver, his initial receiver, and tried to just get the ball to one receiver, pushing it downfield. Have you noticed that this year at all, or am I just blowing this thing out of proportion?
Well, what you're seeing, Josh, is him identifying coverages and us calling a blanket route. And according to coverages, whether it's one high or two high, the route combinations that are best against one high or two high, that's what he's going for right now. Instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4 across the field, that takes too long, and sometimes the protection is going down. Maybe that's what you're seeing. So if it is that, and I think it is that, what you're seeing, that's improvement.
Hey, Coach. So I just wanted to know, with all these injuries that we've had this past season, it's kind of completely out of everybody's control when someone gets injured. But what is the mindset of this team? Like the next man up, I know that was big last year when we had a lot of people out. So what is that mindset, and what is kind of like your game plan going into this week against Florida, such a powerhouse, both sides of the ball, one of the best rushing and best defensive teams we've faced. So what is kind of your game plan going into that, considering all the injuries?
Well, our offensive line is probably the healthiest it's been. So that's good. And our running backs are healthy, so that's good. On the defensive line, we got Mason Smith, who we can move back to end if Ali Gay can't play. And then we got Glenn Logan coming in. So Glenn hasn't played, but he started a lot of games for us. So that's going to bolster our defensive line a little bit. But that's a very good question that you have.
Obviously, Saturday was the first time Cam Wire was really kind of getting major snaps again. I guess just what did you notice him kind of opening some things up for that line?
I thought he did a very good job of blocking at the point of attack. We ran behind him. He did a tremendous job. He didn't give up any sacks. He had a good week of practice last week. Both him and Anthony Bradford are playing pretty good. So we're a little bit stronger at left tackle than we've been at the beginning of the season.
I got two questions. One is just kind of general, you can educate me on it. Wheels and screens, are they taking longer to develop and that's why they're not getting called? And then secondly, I noticed Mason Smith, you really made it a point to coach Mason, coming off the field this past week. Obviously, you see a lot of potential there. Is that just you trying to tap into that?
Yeah, I think Mason's going to be an All-American there. I think he's going to be a potential first-round draft choice. But, we had to move him back inside. And he was getting some different schemes that he hadn't played in a while. And, at defensive end, you're playing the tackle, or you're playing the tight end. Now he's playing the guard and the tackle, and he's playing some combination blocks. And I could see some things that could help him out during the game. That's what I was helping him for.
And you mentioned just not like with Cam Wire on Ty's 30-yard run, like he and Ed were like pulling all the way across the formation. Is that some stuff that pulling linemen, sort of some new stuff that y'all implemented recently?
Yeah, that's some of the stuff I talked about last week. We had some new plays. They're really not new plays. It's stuff that we haven't run, the gap plays, the counter schemes, the power schemes, the tackle pull schemes. I think that's going to help us. It creates different gaps for the defense, different gaps for them to fit, and we're going to continue to do that.
Just to follow on the wheels and screens, were you able to, is that something that you see? Can you run it out of the offense you're running?
Yes, we can, and we should do a better job. For some reason, we haven't had screens. Screens haven't worked very well since I've been here, and I'm a defensive line coach. I'm always preaching running the screen. So, yes, we need to continue to work on it.
Coach Steve Moulton, WZZN. Now that we're kind of on the back half of the season, this is usually where we see some young players who normally don't get to see some playing time. The 4-game rules, certainly, I know a big part of that. Are there some guys on the horizon that are maybe showing you that are deserving of playing time here in the second half of the season?
Yeah, we're going to see that, Steve. Obviously, we have not saved anybody for a redshirt year. We haven't even talked about it. We got a lot of young guys playing on special teams right now. We told them that's the way to make your break, get in special teams and do great, just like the great players before us, like Jamal Adams, Jarvis Landry, and those guys were outstanding on special teams. So that's where we're using a lot of our true freshmen.
Ed, Scott Rabley with The Advocate. While you've been talking, there's been a report, at least on Twitter, that Kayshawn is out for the year. Are you not prepared to say that at this point? And also with Miles, when he does return, is it back to the same level of competition at quarterback that it was before the season, or Max has established himself and it's a backup starter kind of thing?
Yeah, Kayshawn will be out for the year, unavailable for the year. That's correct. I don't know with Miles. I don't know if Miles is going to be back. I really don't know if we're going to get him back at the open date like we thought we would. I'm kind of unsure of that. So we have to play by ear as he gets better. But I don't think he's going to be back at the open date. That's my gut. That's my gut feeling.
All right, thank you.
Are we done? Go Tigers.